Here we go again. Hello and welcome, Cardiac Carlton are back at it again. Whilst Vossi was chilling on the sideline with his best poker face, all us Carlton fans were like our good friend and mate, Mitch McGovern, on our haunches, sucking in the deep breaths, needing medical assistance, as Carlton took their fan base on another roller coaster adventure, which led to increased blood pressure. Whilst we could all collectively exhale with the tune of the final siren, it left us all wondering. Melbourne held scoreless for the first time in a decade and a half in a first quarter. How the bloody hell was this the final score, and how did we get here? Well, today in typical Carlton analysis fashion, let's go back to relive the anxiety yet again and understand the answers to these questions. If you go on to enjoy, make sure to drop a like on the video. If you want to remain tuned for next week's rendition of Carlton analysis, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support the channel financially, you can also buy a channel membership for a small price per month. Enjoy the video. If I had to provide a like-for-like comparison for both these teams in terms of how evenly matched it was, it would be like saying someone built like a twig goes into a fight against a gym junkie who's absolutely jacked. This wasn't a fun fourth quarter from a Carlton standpoint. Whilst it was very much a case of to and fro when it came to stoppages, more control and thus territory dominance arose for the Dees compared to the Blues. Carlton couldn't mark it, they were under duress for the entire quarter, they couldn't get it inside 50, and thus the chances of tackling in this area of the field was significantly lowered. So yeah, that's practically a recipe for half the stadium to not see the football kicked down their end. To really quantify how lopsided it was, Carlton the entire quarter had 11 possessions in their forward half. In correlation, whilst Melbourne's total is of a higher volume within 60 metres of Carlton's goal, you can see the stark contrast with what's going on from the back of the centre square going forward. But it isn't merely enough to read all this and come to a conclusion. Let's dive into some film. Now, for some, people may see me as harsh here, but this is one of the most important sequences of the game. We have 7 minutes and 16 seconds to play. Charlie Curnow is in the goal square, and this is where the ruck contest is. This is inside 50, number 5 of the quarter for the Blues. Now, this is a tussle, nothing out of the ordinary for the wet, but stop here. Charlie Curnow, pick the damn ball up. Man has the opportunity to keep the ball in play as he's facing the infield. Get your body behind it. Try get yourself away from that goal line, even try get it out of bounds. It's anyone's ball, but instead both decide to stop themselves, almost as if they're waiting for the other to collect the ball, and a toe poke gets it over the line. Curnow may be second to it, but a little hunger may get him there first. That's the criticism he's copped for weeks. That allows the kick in to occur and the open side to be exploited for the space that's permitted. This gives Steven May the leverage to hit up a target with superb precision. And then you have a couple of these 50-50 plays along the boundary line, one-on-ones, but Melbourne succeeded in these more often than not in the fourth. And whilst the Blues won the ball back, they shat themselves in these situations. This is what Michael Voss said last week.
There's some things in our game that clearly last week weren't in shape. You know, our contest and our pressure around the ball was off. Collingwood was certainly on in that part of the game, and obviously changed the way we were trying to play a little bit. Wouldn't take the game forward in key moments, and obviously we lost important territory on the game, and the inside 50 numbers says so. So we look to correct some of that.
Fair to say that this showed with a kick like Kennedy's. They get it to the goal square and it becomes a minor score, but that's beside the point. Charlie Curnow's decision to pull up here may not look all that significant, but that back 50 exit by Steven May marked the last disposal in Carlton's forward 50 for the entire quarter. Inside 50s came at a premium for the Blues. An effort from a player like Charlie needs to be better when you're fighting for territory. We see the complete opposite from Jack Viney. At this stage, Carlton are up 19 with 4.5 minutes to play, give or take. Game looks complete, but Melbourne, in order to have their insane leverage over the Blues in the last, had to win key battles between the arcs to send them back within reach of goal. Simultaneously, Carlton would require more possessions to get it up their end, as we saw all too commonly. This tackle is important for the fact Martin is up at the stoppage with Rivers behind the ball. It's gone inbound where the space is, and Chandler's tracked his man as opposed to the ball carrier. As always rolls over, presumably as a part of Carlton's zone, This loose man frees himself wide, and a good recognition by Viney. Now, I can't put this down to much else, but pure desperation. Martin, who was on the mark when Viney kicked it, worked well to get back and actually applied the spoil effectively, but Viney's already running to the goal line, having been unattended the entire way down. Both Cripps and Chincotta pull up their run, and Akers got done in by Josh Kelly the other week, committing to the goal line, whilst the assignment who's sitting a little bit shallower gets used, placing Akers off guard. Viney does an unbelievable job keeping it in. Akers just needs to dive forward and smother it to deny the ball from having any daylight of getting through. Ultimately, because he doesn't do that, it's a goal. But in summary, on one end, you've got a player taking initiative and believing, having seen players aren't reactive to it, and are resigned to a resetting of possession, with another player not highlighting the same opportunity. Melbourne got themselves back in the game, and Carlton didn't see the ball inside their forward line for the rest of the game. So these two plays in isolation have a huge bearing on the game. The fine margins are a common discussion that we usually have when we're discussing a game between these two sides, and Melbourne definitely felt the advantage in that realm in this game. This shows the Jack Viney effect again. It's probably down to coincidence that prior to this contest, Cripps was on Oliver, Walsh was on Viney, but these two picked up open opponents on both sides of the stoppage. By this luck, Viney ends up on the attacking side, which works a treat for that late game gut running of his. Hollins has come up to the stoppage, which should neutralize, but Cripps has also done the same, trying to impact this play, and here's Viney chilling on the outside. Rivers has come up to even up Hollins, but Jack Viney is not here. Whilst it is a gamble to give Carlton an extra number at the stoppage, Neil Bullen's extraction is extra valuable for the fact it gives Melbourne a chance to maximize an extra number on the outside. Cue Viney's gut running. He's now open, and we saw in the Charlie sequence earlier, Cottrell lose out on a one-on-one, and well, he does it again. Wheater's sagged off in the back line, and his direct man supports. Viney is the relief as Wheater's arrives too late, and I could not tell you how Petrarca is open, but what I do know is that doesn't matter if Viney isn't gut running his ass off to chain it all together. Off his own boot or hand, Viney's brought Melbourne right back into the contest with two very impactful moments, and it's simply off the back of effort and pure desperation. Now, back to the Curnow moment. Why may Carlton have not seen the ball in their forward 50 for the rest of the quarter and the game from that point onwards? Well, let's look at some common trends of the quarter. Carlton, as we've mentioned, probably could do more with their possession here between the arcs. Here, Carlton win a free kick. The kick goes wide, and whilst it doesn't go past Curnow due to a mixture of Curnow not timing his run and the kick being sat on his head, Carlton get a stoppage due to the man who initially won the Carlton free. Okay, so solidify your positioning. Then Carlton win a high tackle. Okay, so we can solidify positioning again. Although here's the issue. Carlton set up as 4 to the right of Pitto on the defensive side. 1 is on the offensive side in front. Fair bit of space here prior to the stoppage. So that's the space they're going to focus on. Carlton identify this space, potentially by design, but that actually shoots them in the foot. You see, Cripps wins it cleanly, but he's running further into that defensive area where Carlton had 4 players. But now, they've only got 1 because Carlton's players have run too early in an attacking mindset. Cripps needs someone here to hold position and help promote that drive back forward to reach those guys. Only reasonable option is Jordan Boyd, who has come up to the stoppage, but he's blanketed, and so Cripps has to swivel and heave a pass forward to players who have already run too far on the attacking side. Now, as much as David King probably hates Carlton, he had a great point about this, highlighting examples from last week. Let's take a look.
Collingwood made them look second rate, so these are the sort of things we're talking about. Look at Akers here. He's on the wing, side bottom just next to him, their opponents. He thinks Walsh is going to win that ball. He stays there because he thinks Cripps will probably win it. Now he's 3 metres goal side bottom wins the ball out the front. So the fumble is killing Carlton.
Kingy says that the fumble is killing Carlton in these scenarios, but I feel holding position and waiting for that clean possession rather than alienating the ball carrier is quite essential. This is probably the reason that Carlton win initial possession but don't win the clearance, and then they get killed on the spread as well. Personally, I just feel as if Carlton definitely had these opportunities to get themselves in these deeper positions which were giving themselves more leverage, but the results were not great on most occasions. Now, theoretically, if you could get yourself forward with a kick, then a stoppage, then a kick, then a stoppage, considering wet conditions, you probably say you're going to make progress, right? After all, Goody said pre-game,
he's going to get back to basics and obviously get the ball forward and really embrace these conditions.
But Walshy talking post-game, he had a great point about this sort of mindset, mentality, game style, whatever you want to say.
That last 4 to 5 minutes, you want to get repeat stoppages and try and get the ball forward and wide so you can get territory on the game. And I thought we did that at times. It was just probably Gorman had a pretty big impact. He's such a good player. He can spike the ball anywhere in that goal at the end. So
we've seen Carlton's arms cut off essentially with kicks high and long not working. But try and play a football game with both your arms and your legs severed. Melbourne also made the contested side of things tough to get really good results out of. Melbourne had all bases covered. Carlton won 2 centre clearances in the last. The first clearance of the last equating to a goal, and this. A kick which goes straight to a matchup of Lever and Durden. Can you guess who wins? Right. On this example, with deconing in the ruck, that means no deconing forward. Lever's interceptability, that's not a word, is enhanced. He doesn't have to acquaint himself with the third Carlton tall. This kick isn't optimal, but Lever can't mark it. We've gained meters, we get a throw in, so that's an optimal result. But it's not actually, because you've just fed into Gawn's silver service like Walshy mentioned in the postgame. Elite grazing tap to Langdon. Melbourne mids are on the outskirts. The middle is wide open, with the shallow throw-in sucking the ruck contest to the outside, basically helping form a ring of players. And Langdon is on the right side to run right towards where the ball is landing without being impeded. And what could have been considered a win in coping with Lever has actually resulted in Melbourne breaking even on the back of that Gawn ruck tap. In essence, Carlton could not find success at all. Some quick contributors I also want to shout out from Melbourne's end. Trent Rivers. I want to stress 3 key plays from his end that occurred immediately after Carlton's goal. First, a tackle to deny forward 50 entry, then an elite one-handed pickup as the ball skids off the turf to buy Billings added time to belt it clear. Then his drive off the back of the stoppage as a loose man assists Melbourne in their charge forward to get a shot at goal. It was Rivers who, by that positioning, speared an unpredictable pass to Gawn. And after that goal to cut it to 1, he burst off the flank to belt it into attack. You would think with the game on the line, Hollands is stopping this like his life depended on it. Apparently not. But he was a really important part of keeping that defensive line sturdy as an extra man and making Carlton's attacks fall flat. From a Carlton perspective, Matt Owies, man fought for that territory in the last quarter like far out. I mean, the guy got us our only goal of the 4th quarter with persistence, did enough to deter a nailed-on shot at goal. I mean, provided the kick was AFL standard, Carlton are at least 2 premiership points poorer. He was applying tackles and actually pressing up to the stoppage, all contributing to an unprecedented performance in the 4th, which I could not have foreseen. There's plenty of other players, plays, things I could highlight, which I won't have time for today. But overall, let's just forget this last quarter even happened. I mean, if I could erase it from my memory, I would. But instead, it goes down as another chapter in an expanding book of last quarter drama between Carlton and Melbourne. What was the thing that stood out to you most in the 4th quarter, or something you admired? How did you feel watching the 4th quarter from home or at the ground? What was the moment of the quarter where you started to feel a bit of uneasiness? Because I sure as hell know that before a ball was even bounced in the 4th quarter, I felt as if a grandstand finish was going to be on the cards. Thanks for watching. We'll chat some more Carlton next week, but until then, stay safe, enjoy the day, and bye for now.